Most people believe the biggest money mistake in your 20s is spending too much or saving too little. It isn't. The biggest mistake is invisible. It doesn't show up on a bank statement. It doesn't trigger a warning from your budgeting app. In fact, it often looks like success. The biggest money mistake people make in their 20s is optimizing for the wrong scoreboard. They spend a decade competing for income when the entire game, the one that actually determines whether they retire free or work until 70, is played on a completely different board. Ownership. Two people can earn identical salaries for 10 years. One becomes financially independent by 35. The other is still trading hours for money at 55, wondering where the money went. The difference was never the paycheck. It was what each of them was quietly building or quietly leaking every single month, without realizing it. By the end of this, you'll understand why some of the smartest, hardest-working people you know are also the most financially stuck, and why the mistake isn't laziness, ignorance, or bad luck. It's a design flaw in how modern life presents money to you. Meet Daniel, 26 years old, marketing manager at a fast-growing tech company. Salary, $78,000 a year, good money for his age, in his city. Daniel isn't reckless. He doesn't gamble. He doesn't max out credit cards on impulse buys. He doesn't ignore his finances. He checks his bank balance regularly. He even reads personal finance content occasionally. Here's Daniel's financial picture at 26. A leased BMW 3 Series, $612 a month, because you need to look successful to be taken seriously in this industry. A one-bedroom apartment in a trendy part of the city, $1,850 a month, slightly more than he could comfortably afford. But you only live once, and location matters for networking. A gym membership, a meal subscription service, streaming platforms, and a wardrobe upgraded every season to match his new promotion. He contributes 3% to his 401k, just enough to get the partial employer match. Because, I'll increase it once I'm earning more. Daniel's belief system is coherent and, on the surface, reasonable. I'm young. I'm building my career. My income will keep rising. I'll get serious about money later, once I'm earning six figures. By 29, Daniel is earning $95,000. His lifestyle has expanded with it, a slightly bigger apartment, a slightly newer car, slightly more frequent vacations. His net worth? Roughly $4,000, almost entirely in his 401k. Daniel isn't failing. He's doing what almost everyone around him is doing. That's exactly what makes this dangerous. Here is what Daniel doesn't see, because he was never taught to look for it. Every financial product marketed to young high earners is engineered around one core insight. People don't compare their income to their needs. They compare their lifestyle to their peers. The lease on Daniel's BMW isn't selling him transportation. It's selling him a signal, a way to broadcast, "I'm doing well," to colleagues, dates, and his own mirror. The dealership doesn't need Daniel to own an asset. They need Daniel to make a monthly payment that feels affordable in isolation, disconnected from what it costs him in opportunity. That's the mechanism. Isolate the decision so the true cost stays invisible. $612 a month feels manageable. What's rarely calculated is what that $612 invested instead in a diversified index fund at historical average returns becomes over 30 years, not $220,000 in payments, but potentially $600,000 in compounded wealth quietly transferred from Daniel's future to a leasing company's present quarter revenue. The apartment operates on the same logic. Landlords in networking-friendly neighborhoods aren't pricing units based on square footage. They're pricing access to a lifestyle narrative, proximity to a version of yourself you're trying to project. This is the part almost nobody explains clearly. A paycheck is not wealth. It's cash flow. And cash flow only becomes wealth when it's converted into ownership of something that generates more cash flow. Daniel's $95,000 salary is a river. Every dollar that flows through it and out, rent, lease, subscriptions, never returns. Only the dollars redirected into assets, equity, index funds, ownership stakes, income-producing property, become a reservoir. The system isn't rigged against Daniel through malice. It's rigged through design. An economy built on consumption needs consumers who believe spending is the reward for earning, not a decision that competes directly with building. Here's what should trouble you more than Daniel's numbers. Daniel is intelligent. He's not undisciplined. So why does this pattern repeat across millions of capable 20-somethings? Because the trap isn't a knowledge problem. It's a wiring problem. Social comparison is doing more damage to your 20s than any market crash ever will. Humans didn't evolve to assess, am I financially secure? We evolved to assess, am I keeping pace with my tribe? In Daniel's case, the tribe is a curated feed of colleagues on vacations, friends in new apartments, peers driving newer cars. Nobody posts their 401k balance. Everyone posts the BMW. Present bias compounds the problem. The human brain values a reward today dramatically more than an equivalent, even larger reward decades away. A $600 lifestyle upgrade this month feels vivid and real. A $600,000 retirement difference in 2056 feels abstract and unreal. The brain isn't built to fear an abstraction. Identity spending is the quiet killer. Daniel doesn't experience the BMW lease as a financial decision. He experiences it as an identity statement. I am someone who has arrived. Once a purchase becomes tied to identity rather than utility, logic stops being the deciding factor. You're no longer asking, is this a good use of money? You're protecting a self-image, and underneath all of it sits lifestyle inflation as invisible ratchet. Each raise doesn't get evaluated fresh. It gets absorbed automatically into what people at my level have. The scoreboard moves before the wins can be banked. This is why intelligent people make poor financial decisions. Not because they lack information, but because financial decisions are processed by the same brain that handles social status, tribal belonging, and immediate gratification, and that brain evolved for savanna survival, not compound interest. Let's simplify the two paths Daniel could take, stripped down to pure mechanics. Short-term thinking, money, lifestyle expenses, temporary status, financial pressure, dependency on next paycheck wealth building. Thinking, money, assets, equity, property, ownership, compounding growth, passive income, expanding options. Here's the part that makes this urgent rather than merely interesting. Time is the multiplier, and your 20s are the only decade where you have maximum time and minimum obligations simultaneously. Consider two paths. Same income, same decade. Path A, Daniel's actual path. $600 mother toward lifestyle upgrades, invested in nothing. Value in 30 years, $0 because it was consumed. Path B, the redirected path. $600 invested from age 26, at a conservative 8% average annual return. By age 56, approximately $900,000. The difference isn't the $600. It's what 30 years of compounding does to $600, invested consistently, versus $600 spent and gone. This is the house-building analogy Mr. Mind Money viewers should carry forward. Every dollar you spend on lifestyle is a brick used to build someone else's house, the car companies, the landlords, the subscription services. Every dollar you convert into ownership is a brick added to your own foundation. Same brick, radically different builder. Warren Buffett didn't build his fortune by predicting markets. His advantage was understanding that ownership, held long enough, does the work that labor cannot. Buffett bought his first shares at 11 years old, not because he had unique insight at 11, but because he understood early that time in an asset matters more than timing an asset. Jeff Bezos took a similar principle and applied it structurally. Amazon operated at razor-thin profit margins for years, reinvesting almost everything back into infrastructure, logistics, and market position, building an asset base that would eventually produce enormous cash flow, rather than extracting short-term profit for lifestyle. Contrast this with the well-documented pattern among professional athletes. Studies have repeatedly found that a significant percentage of high-earning athletes face financial distress within a few years of retirement, not because their incomes were insufficient, but because their spending scaled to match a peak income they treated as permanent, rather than converting that income into assets that would outlast their playing careers. The principle each example reveals is the same. Income is temporary. Ownership is what survives income. This is not a comparison between poor decisions and rich decisions. It's a comparison between two entirely different operating systems for evaluating money. Consumer mindset asks, Can I afford the monthly payment? Investor mindset asks, what does committing to this payment cost me in future options? Consumer mindset asks, what does this purchase say about who I am? Investor mindset asks, what does this purchase do for who I'm becoming? Consumer mindset measures wealth by what is visible, the car, the apartment, the wardrobe. Investor mindset measures wealth by what is invisible, the balance sheet nobody sees. Consumer mindset treats a raise as permission to upgrade lifestyle. Investor mindset treats a raise as an opportunity to widen the gap between income and expenses. This is the real divide in your 20s, not people who earn more versus people who earn less, but people who let their spending rise with their income versus people who let their ownership rise with their income. Here is a framework to run every financial decision through, starting today. The freedom test. Before any significant purchase, ask, does this decision increase my future options, or does it quietly reduce them? A leased car reduces future options because it locks in a fixed obligation with zero equity created. An index fund contribution increases future options because it creates a claim on future growth. The ownership test. Am I acquiring something that takes money from me every month, or something that has the potential to make money for me? A depreciating asset with ongoing costs, the car, the subscription, the wardrobe, is a liability disguised as a lifestyle. An appreciating, income-producing asset, equity, property, a business stake, is wealth in early form. The 10-year test. Will the person I am in 10 years thank me for this decision, or resent me for it? Daniel at 36, looking back at Daniel at 26, will not remember which BMW trim he leased. He will feel the compounding weight of 10 years of decisions that either built a foundation or built nothing at all. Run every dollar through these 3 questions before it leaves your hands. This alone will separate you from most of your peers by 35. The biggest money mistake people make in their 20s was never really about money. It was about mistaking motion for progress, mistaking a rising paycheck for rising wealth, mistaking visible status for actual security. Money is not simply something you earn. It is a system you either learn to direct or one that quietly directs you. Every financial decision you make in your 20s falls into one of 2 categories. It is either buying you future freedom, or it is selling off future opportunities you haven't even discovered yet. The people who build real wealth are rarely the highest earners in the room. They are the ones who, early and consistently, understood the difference between looking wealthy and becoming wealthy, and chose, quietly, again and again, to build the thing nobody else could see.